So you've heard of a victory garden and you want to build one, but you don't have any money. Well, today on Wild Florida, we're going to talk about how to build a victory garden with no money. Hi, I'm Jacqueline, the Wild Floridian, and welcome to episode 6 of the 9-part series where we go from a lawn to a victory garden in a snap. Victory gardens are all about increasing your food security while decreasing costs in a time of crisis. And if you want to start the series from the beginning, go ahead and click on this card right here, or you can wait till the end of the episode and a card will appear in one of these 4 corners. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about how to build a victory garden with no money. Okay, so when we get into building a victory garden, right, we're gonna need tools, we're gonna need materials, and we're gonna need plants, right? Okay, and while I've gone through this in the previous episodes, I'm gonna go over this really briefly, but in a different way, because we need to focus on how to do it with no money, right? And if you remember in episode 2, I really talked about finding that intersection between cost and efficiency, right? Because we could buy things that were perfect, but they would cost a lot more money, or we could get stuff that was cheaper, but usually it meant we're gonna have to spend a lot more time. So I wanted you guys to know that when we talk about doing for free, usually you're gonna have to give more time in order to make it work. But hey, if you got no money, you gotta do what you gotta do because you're in a time of crisis. So the first thing we gotta talk about is tools. Because if you remember from episode 2, the majority of the cost of what we're talking about, $280, was the tools. It was $225 of it. And that is a lot of money, especially when you're in time of crisis. So we gotta figure out a way that we can go and get these for free. And I've got kind of 2 main ways that I wanna talk about. The first one is a tool library. Yes, just like you would go and borrow a book from a library, you can go and borrow tools from a tool library. And you can find them on a place called localtools.org. And it's a website that can help you find a tool library in your area. And what's really cool is that you can go onto the local tool library and look up what kind of inventory they have. So you can see ahead of time, do they have the tools that you're looking for? Or there's some tools that maybe could be good alternatives for what you're looking for. Because I'm gonna tell you, probably a lot of them don't have mattocks like I recommended, but they might have like a hoe or shovels or other things that you may be able to use. So consider using local libraries for tools. The second one, well, it probably seems really obvious, but go ask your neighbors, right? I mean, gardening gets you out, it helps build community. And one of the ways you can help build community is go ask people to borrow stuff. So, I mean, I've done this before. Our next door neighbor, who's super nice, Mr. Cliff, we borrowed his chainsaws and yard carts, and I've given him plants so that he can go and grow things in his yard. So, I mean, having neighbors who help out is an awesome way. And tell them what you're trying to do. Hey, I don't have a lot of money, but I need to do a thing. Can I borrow your shovel? Can I borrow your mattock? Because they probably don't have one. But you know, ask around. You need to start asking people because it's important to build community. And hey, you might be able to get it for free. Oh, how about a bonus one? Okay, have you thought about using things like Facebook Marketplace or the app Nextdoor? The thing is that a lot of times people are just trying to get stuff out of their house, right? They will just be like, hey, I'm putting all this stuff out, and they'll take a picture of like a whole clump of stuff and be like, come and get it. And you never know what you can find. So keep your eye out for those good finds when you're going and doing that, because you may be able to find not only tools, but materials that you need to build your victory garden. So now let's talk about how are you going to go and get materials. Remember, there were kind of 2 main materials that we talked about, because if we're not going to worry about borders, which you could already use for borders, you could do found items like cinder blocks that are being thrown away, or people's pool tiles that they're getting rid of, or like me, you saw I use palm leaves. I mean, if you're in Florida, how often on the weekend do you see trash cans full of palm leaves at the end of people's driveways, right? So you can get a lot of found materials for your borders. But let's talk about the 2 big ones, right? Mulch and soil. And I'm gonna go back into mulch because I did give you a free thing through chipdrop.com, which I'll again put down below, which is free mulch, but it comes in a truckload, right? And I know a couple of you guys checked it out and you were like, whoa, I don't need a whole truckload. I get it. So what could you do instead? That's still free, but maybe less, right? So one of the things that you could do instead is use grass clippings, right? As your neighbors are mowing their lawn, as you mow your lawn, go ahead and ask everyone, hey, save me some grass clippings. I totally want to use that as mulch for my yard or for my victory garden bed. And a lot of people will be willing to, because if you just give them a little bit of notice, they'll be like, yeah, I'll chuck it on the corner for you in a trash bag. So ask around for things like that. Or if you're a newspaper reader, go ahead and look at that. Also check out people's recycling bins, right? If they're not doing the big bulk ones and they still are separating papers, go ahead and take the papers, right? And shred them up, and then that can become mulch for you too. So that's an alternative source for mulch that's free, but less. And if you remember, after the mulch, we needed a lot of garden soil, and that was about $25 worth of materials for each Victory Garden bed. So if we wanted to do it again for free, the first thing you can use that's a great amender of soils is, one is mulch. So we've already kind of got that covered, but the second thing would be compost. So you could go ahead and make your own compost, and I've got lots of videos on that, so if you want, check it out. Lazy composting, and I think I did a Growing Food is Easy challenge one, but I'm not going to go on about that, because the thing is you could go and compost. You could do some really simple composting, like just dig some holes and put your food scraps in there, and then just let it break down and put the mulch on top. That would be an easy way to do it. Or you could go use like a reclaimed trash bin and go make some in there. All options. Also, what you could also do is reach out to people who have livestock, right? Getting that mixture of manure, because compost is a lot of times, there's always poop involved. Just know that. Gardening has poop. You got to get with that. So go and reach out to people who have livestock and see if you can get some of their manure. Yes. And you can layer that in with all the grass clippings you've got, mix it up, let it settle for a bit before you get planting. So that's a free option. Or maybe you actually have black gold in your yard and you don't need to amend it at all. So check it out, think about it. That would be a free option for your soil. And the third thing you need, right? You need plants. You need plants, right? Because it does no good to have a Victory Garden bed if there's no Victory Garden vegetables and fruit growing in it, right? I mean, you're not going to increase food security. You got nothing in it. So where are we going to get the plants? Well, the first way is one of my favorites, because I do this myself, and that is using food scraps to grow new plants. Yeah. So one of my favorites, and I did a video on this, but I'm gonna tell you what it is green onions, right? So you've already gone to the store, you bought green onions to make some other dish, and you cut off the bottoms that have the little roots on it, and then you go and plant those roots in your garden, and then they grow new plants. Amazing, right? And there are lots of plants that you can do that with. How about when you're cutting up tomatoes, right? And you don't use them all, or you take out that like mushy, gunky part in the middle, and there's seeds in there. Hello, you can plant this. Or you're cutting up a pepper, there's seeds in there. You can plant that, right? Or maybe you only needed like half a sweet potato, and you can go ahead and plant that half after it gets those little funny purple things on it, right? You let those funny purple things, you plant it, and then now you've got sweet potato plants. It's pretty cool, right? You can use things that you just bought at the grocery store and get more and more plants. I think I took one sweet potato and I got like 45 pounds off of it from all the plants that I grew. Is that a good return on investment? I think that's a good return on investment, right? The second way that you can go and get plants is you can use the seeds from the plants that you've already grown. Now this is kind of like long-term, not first term. So like when I grew my green onions, right? They grew up and then they bolted, which means they got flowers on them. And now those flowers have seeds, and now I've got green onion seeds. So not only can I continue to grow those green onion plants, I can go plant more seeds all around, all around. Isn't that cool? And what's really cool is because now I've got all these seeds, you could ask me for seeds, right? And that's your third tip. Go ask other gardeners for seeds. A lot of times when you buy a packet, it comes with way too much. And it's because they consider the fact that like a lot of these are gonna die. So go ask fellow gardeners, hey, do you have any extra seeds that I could use? And they may be able to give you some. And also what you can do is you can ask them for starter plants. See, sometimes people have gotten them going in containers and they end up making more than they need because, plants die. They die. And so a lot of times us gardeners who've been growing food for a little bit, we put more in, we get more prepped knowing that we're gonna lose some. But sometimes you have a good crop year and a bunch don't die. And then you're just like, well, I just don't wanna kill this just cause. And then someone comes along and they're like, hey, do you have any vegetables or fruit that I could plant? And you're like, yeah, I got like these 3, go ahead, take them. Because what am I gonna do? At least you're gonna use them and I'm not gonna kill them, so I don't feel like my efforts are wasted. So ask around, build a community with other gardeners. And there are a lot of groups on Facebook that you can find local gardening groups food gardening groups, all of that online, so you guys can build a relationship. And trust me, they are always trading with each other all the time. They are super supportive, so start building a relationship with others so that you can start getting seeds and plants from them. And then once you get your garden established, return the favor, okay? Okay. And then another thing that you can ask for are cuttings. So some plants, actually cuttings is a really great way for you to get your plant started. So I know a lot of these ones from more of the tropics, but like things like cassava or even my mulberry here, you can go and ask for a cutting and be able to start a whole nother plant. So you're not actually starting from seed. It takes a little bit more effort and you have to know what you're doing, but you could do that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get seeds. Oh, and here's another option that's like low cost, but not free. So if you're willing to spend a few dollars, when you go to like places like Home Depot or Lowe's and they have those like pre-started little plants there, right? A lot of times there's a point where they start to clear them out. So instead of paying like $2.50, $3, they'll have a clearance section, or else they think they just don't look good. And they'll be giving them away for like $1. So go find out if they've got like a clearance section on plants and then go buy it. But that wouldn't be no money, that'll be just a little money. But if you're gonna spend some money and you want to, like, I would do that. Okay, now you know what you gotta do to go build your victory garden with no money. So what are you doing? Go ahead, go get started. You've got all the tips and tricks that you need so that you can increase food security and reduce costs in a time of crisis. And look, we can't reduce costs any more than going for free, but we could increase our food security even more. And that's what I want to talk to you about in next episode. Episode 7 is going to be about how we can increase food security for life. And I'm not just talking about thinning and spacing. I'm going to introduce you guys to some new ideas that you may not have heard before. So if you haven't started planning and you want to hear one more thing before you do, go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notification. New videos each week, but right now we're doing 5 days a week until we finish up the Victory Garden series. And while you wait for the next episode, if you want to dig deeper into growing food, go ahead and check out the Growing Food is Easy challenge. Or you can check out all the other videos I have on my channel, including Growing Food is Easy, for some other ideas on what to grow. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.